BookRatMisty's August book chat is on the classics, so I thought I'd add my 2 cents to the mix and create a video response. This is it. I am the supplier. I think the beauty of the classics is how they open up a window to a time period and reflect the views and the mores of that period. I remember reading Beowulf in 10th grade English and, not getting it. And then taking a medieval class in college and learning the history of the period and then noticing how the qualities of the period were completely evident in the writing. And at that point it became like being on the inside of an inside joke. And this whole idea of being on the inside of an inside joke is part of what motivated me to read classics, especially when I was younger, because I remember seeing references to classic novels everywhere and wanting to know what authors or filmmakers were talking about. I mean, even now, how many contemporary novels have compared characters to Holden Caulfield? If you haven't read Catcher in the Rye, then there's no way to get that in comparison and you're on the outside of the inside joke. But my absolute favorite time period is the Victorian age. When I taught British literature, that was the first time I really felt like I was part of that inside joke. Like, for example, as a class we read The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde after having gone through the Victorian values. And then we analyzed the piece, because I like to analyze literature, and there's value in analyzing literature, and I was teaching English, and that's what we do in English class. But anyway, it was neat looking at how Wilde satirized the beliefs of his time period. I mean, I read a lot of classic literature before then, but that's when it really got fun, going through it with teenagers who found the punny amusing. And by the way, no, it's not just The Importance of Being Earnest that I like from the Victorian period. Misty talked a lot about novels, so I want to touch on poetry real quick and what I love about classic poetry. Now, this isn't to discount contemporary poetry. I mean, I listen to the Indie Feed Performance Poetry channel, and I love it. But there is something about the patience and the craftsmanship of classic poetry, and I have an appreciation for the amount of work that it must have taken to write these long-ass poems within the constraint of meter and rhyme scheme. I mean, okay. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure-dome decree where Alf the sacred river ran through caverns measureless to man down to a sunless sea. Really? Or one of my favorites, in terms of both meter and story. On either side the river lie long fields of barley and of rye, that clothe the wold and meet the sky, and through the field the road runs by to many-towered Camelot. And up and down the people go, gazing where the lilies blow, round an island there below, the island of Shalott. Willows whiten, aspens quiver, little breezes dusk and shiver, though the wave that runs forever by the island in the river flowing down to Camelot. 4 grey walls and 4 grey towers overlook a space of flowers, and the silent isle embowers the Lady of Shalott. And I mean, that's a little bit longer, but I mean, it's a story about this girl who is stuck in a tower and can only watch the people pass through this mirror, and if she looks out the window, then she's got a curse on her head. Or even wander aptly with the shoulder salt the rocks that march at parish at all the rotan bath that every raining no sweet liquor when engendered is the floor. A set of dirty stories, if I have ever read them, so funny. So I'll stop showing off and circle back to the inside joke idea. So have you heard this one? How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. Hallmark, right? It's probably the most famous poem by Elizabeth Barrett Browning from her collection of Sonnets from the Portugese. Written in the 1840s. The 1840s! It's 2012 and it's lasted this long and people still know it. So I have a question that is not entirely completely unrelated to the topic I set up for the video, and it's this. Misty mentioned contemporary classics. That is, what current novels have that kind of staying power that, like, Elizabeth Barrett Browning has. We look at the Victorian period and say, these are the values that these people lived by, and it's evident in the literature. So, when people of the future sit down to look at our current age, what values will historians say we lived by? And what texts will they use to come up with the answer? Leave your thoughts in the comments. To see the original video from BookRatMisty, there's a link in the description. And that's it for me for this video. As always, happy reading, and don't forget to be awesome.